Well, it's not often I have to start a video with a disclaimer, but today I think it is going to be needed. In all of my YouTube saves, the editor is disabled. I can't use the editor. There's no way to use the editor. It's disabled. It's not allowed. I can't do it. I could not force Wembley to hire Tom Best as my replacement. So inexplicably, they didn't. And as you can see, 5 years in the future, 5 years after our Champions League triumph with Wembley, Tom Best is unemployed, which is very, very upsetting. I mean, look at these. By the way, this is a guy who we picked up. Let's look at it. Just look at his career stats for a moment. We signed this guy when he was like 21 years old and we were playing in the Isthmian League Division 1 South Central. He never played higher than the National League in his career and he wasn't good enough for the National League. So really, his cap, his maximum ability was National League South level, where he did get 17 goals in that one season in the National League South where he was excellent. But he was never any good as a player, retired at 29. He has no right to have coaching attributes this good. Still only 43 years old. It's not all over for Tom Best. He could be a manager for another 20 years or so. I find it baffling that he's unemployed, especially as, I mean, I'd give him a job as an assistant manager at any club in the world. He's got a 20 for mental, 20 for motivating, 20 for people management. That means he is as good as it's possible to be on man management, motivating, and using his delicious brain. He's also close to the best you can possibly get on judging player ability. Not a bad eye for scouting a youngster. Can work well with those youngsters and has excellent tactical knowledge as well. Yet he has failed as a manager. He left Wembley not long after me. If we have a look at his milestones, you can see I left. I think I left on something like the 3rd of June. He left later on in the same month, went to manage Cardiff. Cardiff in 2046 were a team that had just got relegated from the Premier League. So didn't get the job at Wembley, did get a job at a team that had just been relegated from the Premier League and are presumably tasked with getting them straight back up again. We'll check in a minute to see if Wembley had hired a successor before this happened or whether he jumped before a successor was brought in. But he managed a year at Cardiff. He was there for one full season. After they got relegated and he was brought in, only managed to finish 8th, was given the job of getting them promoted again, failed to even make the playoffs, and they sacked him. So he was then hired later that year by Shrewsbury, who in Christmas 2047 were presumably mid-table League 2, having been relegated from League 1 a couple of years before. And I guess similar thing, given the job of getting them promoted back up to League 1, was there 2 years, but was once again sacked due to their poor league position in 2049, when again they're mid-table, bottom half League 2. Didn't really move them on from where they were when he arrived. Although I say that the year before he arrived, they finished 20th in League 2. He took over, got them as high as 8th, but then I guess fell off again the following year. And that was the last time he worked. Tom Best has not had a job since. So he had a job in a newly relegated Premier League team playing in the Championship. He had a job in the bottom half of League 2, failed at both of them, and inexplicably no one's given him a job as an assistant manager again. Like I say, there's still time for Tom Best, but he didn't get the Wembley job, and it's very, very sad. So he was appointed at Cardiff on the 25th of June. Let's see what date Wembley appointed their new manager. Was it their fault or was it his fault? So my successor was appointed on the 15th of July. So Tom Best, you can only say it was his own fault unless he'd already been told he wasn't going to get it. My replacement wasn't appointed until 2 weeks after he walked out to go and manage Cardiff. So if he'd have just shown a little bit of patience, maybe he'd have got the Wembley job. So I was replaced by this guy, Donovan Malsom, who is now the manager of Milan. Had previously been at Bristol City, West Ham, Sheffield Wednesday. He'd got around a lot. I mean, he's had a long managerial career. Left Wembley to go and become England manager, so didn't come in and fail. They got a good replacement for me. Left straight from Wembley to go to England, and then left England to take over at Milan. So it's a good career trajectory from him. And during his 2 years at the club, he did manage to win the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So didn't win the league again, didn't win the Champions League again, but did win 2 trophies that I have a lot of previous with. I mean, I guess they did eventually lose at Wembley, although we'll check that. We'll see if Wembley are still unbeaten at Wembley. It'd be lovely if they are. And then he was replaced by Robert Wagner, who lasted just over 2 years. He is currently in real life a player for Greuther Fürth. He ended up, after his playing career, becoming a fitness coach at Bayern Munich before leaving his job as a fitness coach to become manager of Leipzig, and then left Leipzig to take over at Wembley, only lasting 2 years before getting sacked, though. Did win the Europa League. So again, Wembley win trophies, managed to win the Europa League, but I guess sacked for poor league position. We'll check the poor league position shortly. And he was replaced by this guy, Ron Smith, who is still in the job. He has also won the Europa League. So we like winning these European competitions, and his career trajectory, it's only one direction. Started at Burnley, went to Man United, then took the step up to go to Wembley. Looking at his managerial stats, they're not as good as Tom Best's. I mean, are any of these guys, attribute-wise, my goodness me. I mean, he's got different attributes. I would argue he is more of a coach and an assistant manager than Tom Best is, because his tactical knowledge and his player knowledge are rubbish, whereas their Best's real strengths. Best should be a manager. Wagner would have been a great assistant to Tom Best. This guy, again, none of them are as good as Tom Best. I'm a little bit upset that he didn't show a little bit of patience and stick around, but nobody managing any league wins. I obviously had the 5 league wins in my career, only one of them the Premier League, but we don't need to worry about that. But there were some more cups that were won as well. So it's time to have a look at the Wembley Trophy cabinet. In fact, we'll look at this. So this was the year that we won the league. That was the last season that you saw. That's why that guy was sacked, a 6th place finish. So 3 4th place finishes in a row. So becoming an established Champions League club is a good thing, I guess. Although they were playing in the Europa League. So someone mentioned something in the comments that England had lost a Champions League spot. Is 4th place not enough for the Champions League? So according to this, oh no, that's Club World Cup. I clicked the wrong one. So we won the Champions League. No, we were. So Champions League, Champions League, Champions League. So when are we getting in the Europa League here? Or was it the... I'm very confused. So how are we... No, that's the Super Cup. Won the Super Cup, beating Bristol City. The future's mad. So did play in the Europa League once. So how did we win it twice? Have I misread this? So he won the Europa League. Oh, he won the Club World Cup. Okay, I read that as Europa League somehow. But okay, he won the Club World Cup. So briefly, Wembley were the best in the world. But yeah, we were qualifying for the Champions League all that time. And then I guess Matey got sacked for that year where we didn't qualify for the Champions League. Still call them we. But that year did win the Europa League. So that's good. Gleedle's captain in the future. That's also nice. If we have a look at the landmarks to see what's gone on since I left. So there we have us moving back to Wembley Stadium, or moving into Wembley Stadium, not that one. There's all the things that I won. From there, we lost the Community Shield. We did win the European Super Cup. Mane was removed as captain. We'll look into that in a little bit. And Albrecht was given the captaincy. And then we went into administration. So from the moment I left on the 26th of May, 2046, it took a year and a bit to go into administration. The fact it's been over a year, that's not my fault. I don't quite know why they've gone into administration, because they continued qualifying for the Champions League. We already saw that. I can only assume the Wally that took over from me didn't sell as well as I sold, and the transfer debt caught up with us. I guess continuing to play in a stadium that's too small, play in a and without the sponsorships that you necessarily need, but that does mean that our long-running chairman, who had made it onto the favoured personnel list, Scott Day, I guess he was removed from the club as part of going into administration. This new guy's taken over and brought us out of administration. We celebrated by winning yet another Carabao Cup and then an FA Cup. So the season that we went into administration still ended up winning two trophies. The Super Cup was earlier than that. Boys and girls, Sean Berry has come in, taken the club out of administration, and then we've moved to Wembley. So, I mean, okay, it's a temporary relocation to Wembley. This was like the dream. This is all we ever wanted. We wanted to move to Wembley. So I guess Wembley Stadium, not that one, is being increased in size. Yeah, there you go. There's your confirmation. So the new guys come in and really invested some money, moved us to Wembley. The youth and training facility's been upgraded, and Wembley Stadium, not that one, has been increased to 38,000 capacity, which is a significant increase. We will check that season playing at Wembley to see what kind of attendances we were getting. But yeah, we did then move back to Wembley Stadium, not that one. Celebrated that by winning the Club World Cup, at which point Ulbricht was removed as captain and Gleadle took over. Ulbricht dropping down to vice captain. You don't often see that, moving from captain to vice captain. And then Gleadle lifted the Europa League and is now captain of what is a mid-table club. We just looked at it on there. First, fourth, sixth, and then ninth. Weirdly, the administration came whilst still a Champions League club, which I don't necessarily understand. So let's look for the season. Oh my word. There were matches where we sold out Wembley as the home team. That game against Arsenal in the Champions League, we actually sold out Wembley. By and large, in the league, we were getting like 30,000, 25, 35,000. So the new stadium looks like it is going to be the right size. But on those big Champions League nights, I mean, I would be talking to Wembley Stadium and saying, look, Champions League nights, can we play at your place? Because we've proven we can come pretty close to filling it. And certainly when we play Arsenal, we do come pretty close to filling it. If they become a rival, if we have a look at the club profile, no, we don't have any rivalries. So I'm the club legend, the only one. Buhari and Tom Best made it as icons. And then Gleadle and Mane on the favoured personnel list. Mane has left the club, was stripped of the captaincy, never quite actually, I mean, his goal scoring was crucial, and clearly they weren't using him right. After I left, he only ever scored 2 more goals. He was such 21 goals he got the year we won everything, and then in the rest of his Wembley career, only scored 2 more goals before going off to Saudi Arabia for the payday, which you can't really blame him for. But let's. The season tickets are pretty expensive. Goodness me, tickets in general are expensive. So I don't have a lot of season ticket holders, do we? How many fans do we get through the door now? So most recent season, home matches, we are pretty much selling it out, but not always. Europa League phase, we're not selling it out for the Europa League, but pretty much every Premier League match it is a sellout. So it probably is due to be increased in size again, although again, Bournemouth at home, not close to selling it out. I guess being a mid-table Premier League club isn't a lot of fun. So let's look at the team 5 years in the future, playing a 4-4-2. So Kudo is still there as the goalkeeper, now 32 years old. Da Costa, who we did train to play left back, playing left back. I guess Gleadle normally plays there, but Da Costa is over there today. Burrows, who of course signed permanently, then got 7 England caps. Good to see him properly establishing himself. I don't know who Carlos Fuentes is. He signed after me. But this is a youngster I signed, Damien Gerrard, who should be homegrown at club because we signed him at 18. Oh, did the idiot after me loan him out? What an absolute wombat. I kept this boy at the club for 2 years. You just had to keep him knocking around, not send him to Coventry that year, and all of a sudden you have a starting centre-back who's homegrown at club, and a club that needs homegrown at... Oh, just no logic from the AI. Buhari on the left, Brian on the right. They're both still here. Ulbricht's still there as well. And then we've got a new boy, And then up front, it's Pedone, who we spent a lot of money on. And he did occasionally score the kind of goals he was scoring in Italy. And then they've got a new Italian striker to partner him. Gundo is still at the club at 33 years old. He's had a lovely Wembley career, although again, similar to Mane, never reaching the heights he reached under your old pal Kev. Salinas is another one of my boys who, I mean, was loaned out the season after. That can't be. So did I only play him 11? That doesn't feel right. Oh, because we only signed him in January? Yeah, okay. So we played him 23 times in all competitions. I was going to say 11 times feels wrong. So he signed in January, 23 times in all competitions, then inexplicably was loaned out the following year and has never really established himself again. We spent £74 million on him. And then there's not really anyone else there that I recognise. So there's been some significant transfer business go on over the years. So that was my last season. I wonder why we went into administration. It's fine. So the following season, of course, we completed the signing of Burrows. They've signed that guy. And a few players have gone out to balance the books. This is what I mean, though. Not selling enough players. I may have spent a lot, but if you go back through the years, I would always sell well. I mean, obviously, when we were a little bit lower down the pyramid, less so. But these last couple of years, when we started spending, we also started selling. You have to balance the books a little bit. £41 million coming in is just not enough. And Christodoulou was sold. So the one homegrown at club player we had was sold to Derby and then has gone on to Middlesbrough. I mean, having a career in the Championship is great for him. It's his level. But I would have kept him around forever just because he's homegrown at club. Diaz went to Napoli as well. And a couple of the fringies went out on loan. Interesting to see Renault go on loan to Arsenal. Renault, the former Spurs player, went on loan to Arsenal, then joined Arsenal permanently for £52 million the following year. So some of my key players have been binned off by the guy who's come in to replace me. And then the following year, this is why they've got into administration, because they've spent 115 million, only brought 40 million in. And then at the end of this summer, they went into administration. So it's actually it's this guy's fault. This is a poor summer. Spending lots of money, not really selling anybody of any note. Rath went to Leipzig. But other than that, no big sales. You can't just sell one player, especially when you're bringing in all of these. I don't even see how we're only selling one and bringing all these in. I don't know how they've managed to register that as a Champions League squad even. It looks just like a recipe for disaster. And then the following year, back to doing business my way, spend a lot, but also sell a lot, and kind of re-establishing as a team. I mean, it looks like a mid-table team, doesn't it? It's sad. The decline of Wembley is a thing. They've now become a mid-table selling club. And I'm a little bit heartbroken to see it happen. What this club needs is the glorious return of Tom Best. The problem is, of course, he's now a failed League Two manager. So it's not going to happen unless someone brings him in as their assistant, which I'm not going to play anymore. Non-League to Legend starts tomorrow. I'm so tempted, but I'm not going to play anymore. Non-League to Legend starts tomorrow. They are, I mean, they're considered one of the best teams in the league. They've just underperformed. Fingers crossed, the future will see Wembley move back into being a competitive team again. But our Wembley story ends here, boys and girls, with a team that, having started down in Tier 9, ended up with a absolute stacked trophy cabinet, a Champions League, a Premier League, a Club World Cup, a Europa League, a Super League, 3 FA Cups, 4 Carabao Cups, and then a League One, which is apparently more prestigious than the Community Shield, the National League, the Isthmian League, the Southern League. That is a rammed trophy cabinet. And very briefly, for one summer, Wembley FC were the best club in the world. And that's very exciting. And that is the end of one of my favourite series that I've ever done. Hopefully you've enjoyed it too. Like I say, Non-League to Legend starts tomorrow, 4 p.m. It will be a premiere. Make sure you come along. We are going to have a lot of fun with Non-League to Legend. I can't wait. And hopefully you'll come there and join me for it. But if you've enjoyed this video and this series, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for loads more Football Manager content. And thank you very much for watching.